I'm Janice Edwards. Happy New Year, and thank you for joining us for Signature Silicon Valley. On our show today, we are talking with Helen Kassa. Last time we saw her, she was a high school senior. Now she's in college with tips for other high school seniors on having success your freshman year. And then speaking of seniors, we have people from the Institute on Aging to talk about how people can age in place and the support that seniors need for great quality of life in later years. And also on today's show, the work of Habitat for Humanity, featuring Garth Brooks and Tricia Yearwood. That's next. Join us.
This show is sponsored by Edwards Unlimited, a dynamic media production company. You are here for a purpose, and Edwards Unlimited wants to let the world know. We are dedicated to crafting media that engages and inspires.
Happy New Year and welcome to Signature Silicon Valley. I'm Janice Edwards, and we're so excited that you've joined us. Helen Kassa was with us when she was a high school senior. She's been a youth leader in San Jose, and she's one of the future leaders of the world. Well, now she's in college. I know. You are. We recognize that. Now she's in college at Santa Clara University, so she's here with tips for high school seniors and maybe some others as well regarding what you should know before you go to college, what she had known, and how to have a successful career there. So, Helen, it's great to see you again. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me again.
Yes, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So tell me, how did you choose Santa Clara University?
Well, as you guys know, I'm a first generation college student, meaning my parents did not attend a 4-year university. So one of the main things that really drew me to Santa Clara University, aside from it being local, was its program. It's called LEAD, and it's pretty much designed for first generation college students. And the beauty of it is it kind of creates a community for minority students and first generation college students like myself, and it points us towards the resources that we may need to kind of bridge the gap between us and other students.
So what kind of resources do they provide?
So we have seminars once a week, and it kind of just it reminds us like, okay, like this is the time, like you have to register. These are the important key resources that you need. It's just kind of like filling us in on like important things. In addition to that, they provide us with priority registration for classes, so we never have to worry about not getting the classes we need. And it's kind of just like hand holding us through like the beginning transition.
And that's wonderful too, because I know your parents are so proud of you. And one of the things I didn't mention in the intro is that when you were 8, you started a nonprofit in Ethiopia. And so you've always been dedicated to educate, and that was so that youth there could also have books to go to school and things. So now that you're in the university life, how has it changed your perspective, and what do you wish you had known as a high school senior that others might benefit from your sharing now?
So when I was applying to universities, I was trying to do as much research as I could possibly do on different schools, the areas, kind of trying to find a place that I felt would make me better and like help me reach my goals. But one of the most important things that I wish I really did take into consideration was not considering ranking. Although like ranking is really important and it kind of tells you how amazing the university is, it's also really important to pay attention to the resources and what university is going to pay the most attention to you. And that was one of the big factors that helped me pick, again, Santa Clara University.
Right. So what are you planning to major in, or have you picked your major already?
So as of now, there's a possibility it may change, but as of now, I'm pretty definite. I'm doing economics with a minor in sustainability. So right now, I'm taking some prerequisites and Econ 1. So I'm just getting into sticking my hands in, So I love it so far,
And that's great. And so campus life and culture, what would you advise high school seniors to do? Are there certain things to do in terms of preparation? You mentioned a couple, not looking at the ranking, but in terms of your mindset, in terms of things as you complete your senior year to keep in mind?
So my first semester of my senior year in high school was completely college application. Like that was all like one of the only things that was on my mind. So I actually started working on my applications in August, the day Common Application opened, and I just started looking at the different supplemental essays that each university that I was considering had, and kind of based on the supplements is kind of what helped me decide whether this school was for me or not. There were some schools like University of Chicago, for example. It was a school that I was considering, and like the supplemental questions that they were asking were kind of like, if you were a superhero, who would you be? And it's kind of more on the fictional side, like trying to understand the students' type of like their creativity. And then Santa Clara University, for example, just because now I go there, so
right.
like,
You're kind of biased, right?
Yeah, I'm a little biased. Santa Clara is great. But they asked me about leadership and how, like my perspective on the world and how I thought that I could change things, and like they really centered upon Santa Clara University's mission statement. Like it's a Jesuit university, so their mission statement truly is inclusiveness, diversity, and helping other people, humanitarianism. So I felt that I could really relate to the application itself. So I tried to simplify the amount of schools that I applied to based on how well I could relate to the university's questions. So yeah, that was a big thing for me.
Right. How has time management been? Because I remember after high school, all of a sudden you're in college and you have to figure out when you're going to study, after the classes, how you prepare, and you have to have time to be social too and make friends. How are you finding that balance?
So the beginning was complete survival mode, I felt like, because at first, I'll tell you guys my schedule. So on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, my first class isn't until 11:45 a.m., but I don't end my day until 6:30 in the afternoon. So when I started, all the different like pockets of time that I had in between my classes, I used it as like, socializing, eating lunch, getting to know people, and I would cram and do all of my homework in the evening after 7 o'clock, which wasn't a good idea. But now I've learned in between classes I have an hour break or 2-hour breaks in between, and I just do as much homework as I can in between them in that time. And when I'm eating, that's usually the time that I use to socialize because I'm going to be in the dining hall anyway. And yeah, it's kind of more like planning ahead and scheduling. I actually, in my planner, I should have brought it, but in my planner, I divide my day into individual hours, and I color code and I use Post-it notes to add. So for example, from 12:50 to 3 o'clock, that's like my gap in between my two classes. And I say, okay, well, this is the homework that I have, and this is the amount of time I'm expected to finish it. And then I color code it based on like moving on to later or finishing now or just, like done.
That's very organized. Yeah. That's very impressive.
Well, I mean, I'm also doing student government. I was recently elected onto the Senate.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I didn't realize, I knew it would be a time commitment, but it was a lot more than anticipated. So it's kind of put me in the position where I really have to plan my time if I really want a social life and if I want to do well in my classes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know government has been important to you. You were active with the NAACP before, now you're doing that. What do you see for your future? I know you don't have to declare it all right now. You're just a freshman, but do you have any inkling of what you'd like to do after college?
I know that I want to do some type of leadership in the future. I do have a strong interest in education and any form of social justice, like I've mentioned before. But with my major of economics and sustainability, I'm really looking to work with third world countries and like help developing countries in terms of their economic status and see how agriculture and economic development, trying to like merge all of those things together. Yeah, so that's kind of somewhere I want to get into, whether it's kind of a behind the scenes job or if it's kind of holding public office. We don't know yet.
Right, exactly. Well, I know you're going to do great things. Any advice regarding choosing friends? Because that can really make or break, well, your life, but certainly your college career. What have you learned so far? What advice would you offer?
So some things I had to learn the hard way. When you're living with people, for example, I love my roommate. She's great. I love the people in my RLCs, which is like the residence halls. But it's important to know that just because someone is nice or just because you kind of get along with someone doesn't necessarily mean like that's the person that deserves your trust that you should be with all the time. So when you're in high school, your home life and your social school life are completely separate. You at least have your mom to say no, you can't go out.
Right.
But if you're just hanging out in your room, you can't just there's like that social pressure. So it's important to know you have to decide before school even starts. Like, like it's unfortunate reality that, like, there's underage drinking at school, in college campuses. So you have to decide before you even go to school, do I want to partake in that, yes or no? And if there are people who their only, like, their idea of socializing is going out and partying and drinking or smoking marijuana or whatever it is, then that's not going to be the group for you. So it's really about setting your boundaries and guidelines ahead of time and trying to kind of scope out the people you're with. So yeah.
Great advice, and I'm so glad that you were able to join us, and you're still very connected on social media, so if you'd like to contact Helen, details are on our screen. Look for her tweets, and continued success with what you're doing. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
Warren Gannon from the Aging Services Collaborative and Susan Fent from the Institute on Aging have joined us to talk about some of the special needs for seniors. So glad to have you both with us, and thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Yes. One of the reasons I wanted to do this segment is because after the holidays, many times that's when family members have discovered that seniors need more support. Susan, I'll start with you. Talk a little bit about Institute on Aging and what you offer.
So the Institute on Aging really thrives on its ability to connect older adults with services and coordinate services, with really the overall overarching umbrella being that we want seniors to be able to live with dignity in the community for as long as they possibly can.
Yes. And Warren, what services do you provide with Aging Services Collaborative and also the commission that you serve on in San Jose?
Aging Services Collaborative is a group of nonprofits from all over the county who are working toward providing methods for people to age in place. And it's a continuing effort. In San Jose, where I'm chairman of the Senior Citizens Commission, we have a host of issues. There are over 100,000 seniors in San Jose and growing, and there are a host of issues that are particularly difficult after the holidays.
Specifically, after the holidays, what do you find difficult?
Well, we find that there are, one of the issues that we deal with and that Susan deals with as well is isolation. And many seniors who get through the holidays with their families but are still living alone perhaps, or go back to where they have been, are faced with isolation, or what I call isolation, where they don't have an opportunity to be with other people, to talk to other people, to do the kinds of things that you and I are used to doing. And as a result, what we're trying to do in the Aging Services Collaborative with the nonprofits and through the various nutrition centers throughout the city of San Jose is to provide for those kinds of activities, those kinds of places, those kinds of things that people can do in order to relate to other people.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to do this segment. We just want to encourage you that if you are a senior in need or you know someone who is, really reach out with the information that we'll put on the screen later, because sometimes too there's a situation where people have been so independent, they feel vulnerable, but they don't want to, they don't know who to trust, and they don't want to admit that they need help. And Susan, it's really a very delicate dance because people still want to feel valued, have their pride, and at the same time receive the help that they need.
That's absolutely right. And again, it all comes back down to dignity and how we can enable older adults to live their lives in a dignified way regardless of their inabilities or their limitations. And the fact of the matter is most folks, while they're aging, and most of our older adults are very active and are thriving in our communities, but there's the other reality, and that reality is that almost 50% of the people over age of 85 are going to develop some type of dementia. That's a startling statistic. And most individuals over the age of 65 have at least 2 chronic diseases. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're providing those individuals with the support that they need so that they can stay at home. We don't see skilled nursing homes as an option for these individuals, or at least that's the final option. There are certainly many other services that we can provide to keep people living at home regardless of those limitations.
And that's what you mean by aging in place. It means getting the support so that hopefully you can stay in your home, hopefully economically that's feasible, and maybe getting in home health care for if there's been an emergency over a period of time, but then to look at how to reestablish certain living skills and motor skills, et cetera, so that a person can be more independent and stay in the beloved home they've had. Mm-hmm. Correct?
Yes, and it's a continuing effort. It's a continuing effort on organizations like Susan's, which spend their adult lifetimes in that effort. And on the part of the cities and within the county, there are a whole host of programs that that are taking place now as we try to become an age-friendly city, an age-friendly county. There are things that we're doing in the city of San Jose that are useful and effective that we think will be helpful to keep people in their homes and will allow people to age gracefully and, as Susan points out, with some dignity.
Yes, it's so important. And I think it also involves the family. I remember when my mother, during her illness, suddenly needed a wheelchair. And I was acutely aware of how people responded to us differently just because of that. And also a couple of places where there weren't elevators and things along those lines. So it's in addition to the seniors who are involved, their children or grandchildren or caregivers also have to know about the services and also be able to provide support and seek help, but not take away the sense of authority that people have known.
Well, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do with the Aging Services Collaborative is have more of our nonprofit organizations let it be known what they offer and the kinds of things that Susan's organization does. All of those kinds of things help older people age in place. Older people live the last years of their lives in a way that is dignified and gives them the self-esteem that they need to carry on through the rest of their lives.
Yes, I know that I remember my grandmother saying at one point she felt like compared to before, she was treated more like an invisible person as she aged. Any thoughts about that and what might help people in dealing with some of the transitions that should not occur but unfortunately seem to in our society? Warren?
Well, one of the things that we're trying to do throughout the county and certainly in the city is to provide for transportation. Very often we find there are seniors who are not able to get to the senior centers that are available or to their churches or to their hospitals and so on. We're working in a host of different ways to provide for that transportation, but it's an issue because people who've gotten to the point where they can't drive or their families don't feel they should drive, why it's a difficult problem, particularly those people who are living alone. There are many seniors who are forced to live alone for whatever reason, and if they can't get to these places where they can meet other people and do other things, why it's a problem. So we're working toward that. We hope that there will be opportunities for us to do that with some of the new transportation efforts that are available these days through Uber, Lyft, those kinds of things. We're looking at various van programs throughout the city that could help us get people from their homes to the various centers that we have throughout the city. So those are things that we think will be helpful in that respect.
Yes, and Susan, you mentioned dementia. So if someone has dementia, then Uber or Lyft might not be the option unless there are people with special skills who would make sure that the person is safely delivered from place to place, even if the person can't articulate the destination.
That's correct. And so that's part of that in-depth coordination of services that we do for our clients. So in the Community Living Connection Program, which is the program that Warren has referred to that we're serving older adults in Santa Clara County with, our social workers work very closely with our older adults to help to coordinate those services because we are aware that a lot of times the barrier of services is the client's inability to access those services or they're unaware of the services that exist for them. And so having that level of support around them to help coordinate and to collaborate with those different organizations and agencies out there is what really makes the big difference for these people.
Yes, it's so important that you're having the services. What are the fees?
So the Community Living Connection Program right now is fully funded by the County of Santa Clara through Measure A, the first Measure A, and there are no fees for our services. The services are available for those individuals in Santa Clara County who are at imminent risk of institutionalization, going into a nursing home, who are low income, earn an annual income of $35,000 or less per year. So really what we're talking about is Santa Clara County's most vulnerable older adults, but also adults with disabilities. We serve those who are over the age of 18 and over. So we're not just serving older adults, but we're also serving individuals with disabilities who might be younger.
This is wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the services that you're providing. We
It's
want
our
to put
pleasure.
contact information on the screen so that you can reach out. You'll see 2 full screens with details regarding the services you just heard about, and we encourage you to reach out and know that you're not alone. There are people here to help. Each year, some families start off in a brand new home thanks to the work of Habitat for Humanity. Today, we feature a blast from the past with Garth Brooks and Tricia Yearwood when they helped make one Silicon Valley resident's dream come true. We're talking with Garth Brooks and Tricia Yearwood, who've been working all morning here at this home. And you mentioned that earlier this morning you had a chance to see the homeowner when she said prayers for the home. That was a very touching moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it really is all about. When you see that, the homeowner, and that they are emotional and appreciative, it makes you just work all the harder. And they're working right alongside you. I mean, she was in there laying tile in her bathroom, so every time she walks in that room, she'll go, "I did that." It's a great sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, there's also, when you do this, there's also, I don't even know what the right word for appreciativeness is, but it's neat to see the homeowner being very thankful all the time and very sweet. And this little gal here, man, she's broke down 2 or 3 times a day already, just crying. And I got to tell you, if I was in her shoes, I would too. I'm trying not to right now. It's fantastic.
That's why you've been doing it for 8 years now. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
this is
the very first time we were on a build was in New Orleans, and we were hooked. I mean, it's just, as much as anybody can say thank you to us, we definitely feel a little guilty because President Carter said this morning, you get more than you put in. You really do. You put in the work and you help out, but you take with you so much more. It's such a great experience.
Yeah, I would suggest to you someday leave these behind. Just grab a hammer, come and do it, and you'll be here all the time. It's infectious. It's fantastic.
Yes, no, I know when you are working and doing something that means so much. You said that doing the Carter build is the best. So why? How is he as a taskmaster or overseeing everything that you guys are doing?
He's in charge. He is the example of how
Amen.
to be a volunteer. He works 100% nonstop, and we have been on President Carter's house many times.
This is the first year we haven't.
Yeah, and when you're in that house, I mean, I would be nervous sitting here knowing he was inside working, because if you're, you may have been painting for 4 hours, but if you put that brush down and he happens to walk by, he'll say, "Do you need something to do?" And you're like, "Oh, no, Mr. President, I'm working, I promise." So he's the first one in there getting it done. He knows what it means to these families.
Yeah. And not working on his house for the first time in 8 years. It's awesome. Nobody works harder than he does, man.
It's been a vacation.
Well, what's going on with you two once you finish this particular week? I know you have a lot of projects and things. What's that?
A nap.
A nap, yeah. She's, we're just, we still have one baby left in high school. So our job is to, along with Sandy, her mother, and Miss Yearwood's job and mine is to make sure that last baby gets out and gets prepared to whatever she's going to do after that, which we're hoping college, of course. And then we'll
college
see.
is happening. College
Yeah.
is not an option.
I heard you talking about college for some of the others earlier when you were painting.
Yeah. We were talking about our children, and we have two in college already, and just somebody said, "Are your kids in music?" And I said, "One of our daughters is interested in music." And he said, "What do you think about that?" And I said, I want my children to be happy. So it's really, even if it's a difficult road, whatever they choose for themselves, you want them to be happy.
You also want them to be educated, of course. I mean, I think there's 3 keys to success. Remember this: education, education, education. That's it. The more educated we are, the less we use these. The more educated we are, the more we try love, tolerance. That's what Habitat's all about. So, education.
And speaking of love, you two are thriving. He refers to you as the Queen. He asked me if I'd met the Queen. Yeah. So what do you two do to keep your connection as strong as it is?
Well, I think the main thing is just always talk. Always, always, always. If you got a partner you can communicate with, do it. If it's in a form of fighting, whatever, communicate.
And laugh. We laugh a whole lot.
Well, that's communication a lot. Yeah.
And you also have a cookbook. Yes. So how has that project been for you? You look fantastic, and I know this is something that evolved from that.
It's been fun. It's turned into a TV show that I just finished working on season 4 of, which has been so it's been kind of a happy accident. It came out of something that I love to do, and it's been a kind of fun second career.
Well, I know we have to wrap up because you're going to be on the van in a little bit. But what, you said you learned something this morning in terms of painting. You've done this for 8 years, but what in this particular trip will you take back with you?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if there's how to answer that. I think for me, every build is a reminder of the needs of other people. Every build is a chance to do something for somebody else and to take home with you how blessed you are and how much we take for granted what we have.
And I got to say, just one more build. That's it. In the world where good things keep thinning out and diminishing because they just can't outlast bad, because it takes a lot of people to do good and not that many to do bad. But the fact that this goes on every year and it'll continue to go. Today, President Carter informed all of us that in 20 years he's going to come back and ask us what we're doing. So if he's planning that far ahead, we should plan that far ahead.
Yes, when he's 109.
Amen. And I tell you what, my money's on him.
My money's on
Well, I look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank
One
you.
last question. What do you sing to each other? Any particular favorite song?
We really don't.
We
watch
sing a lot around the house, but we don't really sing.
We kind of watch our youngest sings a lot. She's in that stage where, like we were when you were a teenager, and you sing 24/7, and so she does, and we just kind of listen. And I got to tell you, it sounds pretty good.
Oh, we look forward to hearing that.
Good.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the work that you've done here.
Thank you.
Okay. That's our show. I'm Janice Edwards. Thank you for putting your signature on our valley in a major way. Please join us again next time. We look forward to seeing you then. And Helen, thank you for being with us. So
Thank
great
you
to
for
see you again.
having me. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. And we want to thank you again for joining us. And as we leave today, we want to thank everyone who makes such an important contribution to the show. And we want to invite in Sarah Dashby, who is an amazing makeup artist. She makes us all look great. Sarah, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us. And thanks for keeping us looking great as we begin a whole new year.
You're welcome.
We appreciate you. All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.